Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar this afternoon. This is for student finance for 2021-2022 entry, and the information on these slides does pertain to full-time UK undergraduates. So if you are an international student, for example, we do have staff on the line who will try and answer your questions or point you in the right direction. So do get your questions in, but just know that this information is about the student finance loan system in the UK. That is available to UK students. So my name is Gemma. I am a Regional Student Recruitment and Access Officer for the University of Reading. I'm based in the West Midlands for my role, so I live and work there. And we will have a Q&A at the end, and my colleague Edith will be doing that, and she's just going to quickly introduce herself now.
Hi everyone, like Gemma said, my name's Edith. I work with her as a Regional Student Recruitment Officer, so if you have any questions, just send them in and we'll try and answer them during the webinar and at the end of the webinar. Thanks.
Thanks, Edith. So what will we talk about? We're going to cover the student finance package, extra funding, the support that we have at the University of Reading, applications and information, the repayment system. I'll also talk to you about Black Bullion, what to do and when, and we'll have some useful links for you at the end as well. Okay, so the student finance package. So by now you probably already know that there are two main costs when you go to university. So the first main cost is the tuition fee. So this is the cost of your course per year. How do you pay for that? You will get a tuition fee loan. So this will cover the full cost of your course, and we'll get into that in a moment. Your other main cost will be your living costs. So this will be things like the cost of your accommodation, your social life, your books, travel, whether you want to learn to drive at university, and all of those different things there. So how will you pay for that? Well, you'll get a maintenance loan, and we'll go into more detail about that in a moment as well. You could also have a look at extra funding, and again, we will cover this later on in the presentation. You might want to get a part-time job at university as well, and this is something that a lot of students do, because you might find that actually the maintenance loan doesn't cover everything that you need it to, so you might want to get some extra cash from getting a job. It's certainly what I did when I was at university, and so did my colleagues who are also on the line today. You might also want to look into scholarships and bursaries, so this is free cash. And this won't apply to all of you, but for some of you, you might need to rely on the bank of mom and dad a little bit when you go to university as well. So tuition fees for 2021-2022 entry. So if you're in year 13 at the moment, this information applies to you. So tuition fees for this year for new full-time undergraduate students are currently £9,250. So this is the maximum amount that can be charged. Eligible students will not have to pay any tuition fees up front, so you don't have to save up £9,250 to go to university, because the tuition fee loan covers all of it. It doesn't depend on household income. If your course costs £9,250 per year, you will get £9,250 per year. That tuition fee money is paid directly to the university. So £9,250 will not be in your bank account. You are not going to accidentally spend that money. And this loan is repayable when you earn over a certain amount, and we'll get onto that in more detail at the end of the presentation. So living cost support. So tuition fee, really easy. The maintenance loan is a little bit different. So it does depend on a few factors. So where you live and study and your assessed household income. The maximum maintenance loan for this year is £9,488. And this money is paid directly into your bank account each term. So this is where budgeting is going to become really important. This money is paid to you in large lump sums throughout the year, so you do need to, as I say, learn to budget, be sensible with your money, be sensible with what you're spending your cash on. So on the screen at the moment, you can see the maximum maintenance loan amounts available. So depending on your household income, as I say, you will get a different amount, and depending on whether you live at home, live elsewhere, or if you live in London, you'll get a different amount. As your household income increases, the amount of maintenance loan that you will get will decrease. If you go onto the student finance calculator, it has been updated with this year's figures. You can pop in your circumstances in there, so whether you'll be living at home when you go to university, whether you'll be living elsewhere, so moving away to university, or whether you will be moving away and then going to live and study in London, and then put your household income in there, and it will ask some of the questions, and it will give you an estimate of the maintenance support that you will be eligible for. So that's the link there. So if you search student finance calculator, it should come up on the government website. So as we said with household income, it is mostly dependent upon parental household income, but you can be assessed as an independent if you fit into any of the categories that you can see on screen at the moment. If any of these categories do apply to you, please pop onto the government website after today on the student finance pages and have a little read about being assessed as an independent, see what evidence would be required to support your application, and if you do have any questions about this, do reach out to us via the question box and we'll do our best to help out today as well. So the payment process, just to recap, as we say, the tuition fee paid directly to the institution, you don't have to worry about that bit. The maintenance loans and any grants, bursaries or scholarships you apply for are paid to you. The core student finance, as I said, is paid in large lump sums. It's paid in 3 instalments throughout the year. When you get your assessment letter through from Student Finance, it will have the payment dates on there. So your first payment date is triggered by enrolment. So this is when you first start university on that first term. You, as I say, will get this large lump sum. Your next payment won't be until after Christmas. On your payment letter, your assessment letter, as I say, it will have the dates on it. Pop those in your calendar, in your phone or wherever, so you know when that next payment is due. So if it doesn't make it into your bank account, you can chase it up, but also you'll be able to see how many weeks it is until your next payment. You can then divide your lump sum by that amount of weeks, and then you know how much you need to budget per week, because you don't want to be living on beans on toast over Christmas, and having a bit of a miserable time there. So it will help you budget, it will help you be sensible with your money. So there is extra funding available as well. So if you've got a child or an adult who is dependent upon you, there is extra cash available. If you have a disability, a long-term health condition, a mental health condition such as depression or anxiety, or a specific learning difficulty such as dyslexia, you could also get some extra money depending on your individual circumstances from the Disabled Students Allowance. If you go to study overseas as part of your UK-based course, or you take a clinical placement as part of your course, there's extra funding available to you as well. And if you are leaving local authority care, there's extra money available. You can apply for a higher education bursary, which is worth up to £2,000. And if you are a care leaver or you're care experienced, universities usually have pots of money to help you out as well. So if you think that applies to you, do reach out to us in the question box and we will advise you on that as well. So as we talked about at the start, scholarships and bursaries are also an extra option for some cash. This is money that you don't have to repay. They can be granted on a variety of criteria. So it could be because you're doing really well at school at the moment, and there might be a scholarship or a bursary for that. It could be subject specific. So for example, at the University of Reading, we have some subject specific scholarships and bursaries. So for like architecture, for example, so do have a look for the courses that you're interested in at different universities. Do they have subject specific scholarships or bursaries tied to them? If your household income is particularly low when you start university, you might be eligible for some bursaries there. Certain professions have extra cash tied to them, so some NHS courses, for example, social work. Universities do offer different awards and schemes, so it could be money off accommodation, perhaps it will be a reduction in tuition fees either for a year or for the duration of your course. It could be a cash award, it could be a voucher to spend in the restaurant on campus, a combination. There are lots of different ways that universities will implement their scholarships and bursaries. Do have a Google search, see what's out there. So it's not just universities that offer scholarships and bursaries. There are businesses out there and charities out there that want to help out, and there are so many different pots of money that often a lot of it goes unspent. So do, as I say, do a little Google search. You'll probably come across some really weird ones. It's worth applying to any that you think you might be eligible for. Pop that application in, because the worst thing that can happen is that you don't get any money, but if you don't apply, you're not going to know. So what support do we have at the University of Reading? So we have quite a lot of bursaries and scholarships. One of the main ones is the Reading Bursary. Students who meet the eligibility criteria will be awarded a bursary of up to £1,100, and this is for students who have a low household income, so a household income that is less than £27,000. And as it says on the screen, assessed by Student Finance Authority. So when you do fill out your student finance application, there'll be a box at the end that says that you consent to share that information with third parties. The third parties are generally the universities. We then have access to that information, and we can automatically see if you would be eligible for one of our bursaries. So if you tick that box on your application and your household income is less than £27,000 and you start with us as a student, you'll automatically get that £1,100. So you don't have to apply for it. Other universities may have similar things as well. So do tick that consent box. We do have other bursaries available. These are just a few of them. We do have a care experience and estrangement bursary, so do have a look on our website for that. There are lots on our website as well, so some of them you don't apply for, some of them you do apply for. Same with other universities, some you might not have to apply for, some you do, so it's always worth just having a look and seeing if there's anything required of you in terms of an application. So how do you apply for the main student finance? So applications typically open in February, but for this year they will open in March. And the deadline is usually the end of May. So you have between March and May to get the student finance application in. There are a few things that you will need to have ready. So jot this down so that you know what you need beforehand and just make it as smooth as possible. So you will need your valid UK passport details, your national insurance number, and if you've already lost that, please contact HMRC as soon as possible and get that number from them. Your bank account details and university and course details, but you don't need to have any offers back. You don't need to have chosen your firm choice. Just use your preferred choice out of the 5 choices you've got on your UCAS application, and then you can change those details later on if where you will be going to study does change. It's easy to apply online and it only takes around 30 minutes. So you apply at the link that you can see on screen. UCAS have partnered with Student Finance, so you should be receiving reminders about this. Student Finance also have a campaign for this year as well, so you can sign up to the Student Finance campaign, which means that you'll get notifications of when you need to do certain things and that you're not going to miss out on putting in your application for Student Finance. And also follow them on social media as well, because they will post when it's time for you to put your application in. So if you're in year 13 at the moment and you're going to university in September, you will be applying for Student Finance this year. If you are unsure whether you will be taking a gap year, or you might be going through clearing, or you might be deferring your entry, or whatever it might be, please still get your application in at the moment. So get it in before that May deadline. And if you do take a gap year, you do defer your entry, or whatever it might be, you can cancel your student finance application. If you don't get your application in before May and then you do decide you'll be going to university in September, it's not guaranteed that the money will be in place ready for when you start the course. So whatever your circumstances might be, get the application in, and you can simply cancel it if you no longer need it before September. We do have a bit of information for parents as well. So if we do have any parents listening into the webinar, or if you have been asked by your parents if they'll need to do anything, once your child has applied for student finance, you'll be emailed a link. So this is to create an online account for you to provide information about your household income from the previous tax year. If your income this tax year will be at least 15% less, you can give your income for the current tax year, and there is information about this online. And if your income does change when you're at university, so if mom and dad's job change or they're made redundant or wherever it might be, you can be reassessed there as well. So that's just something to note. Key message, please apply early. Every year, thousands of students apply late. So every year, over 50% of applications to student finance are received late. And this means that you might not have that money in place for the start of term. It takes at least 6 weeks to process a new application, and any changes only take around 2 weeks. So get your application in before the deadline with your preferred university choice. And then, as I say, you can change it later on if that does change. And then that will only take around 2 weeks for those changes to take place. As I've said, you apply online. Make sure any evidence and any of the information needed to support your application is supplied right first time. So Student Finance will detail what they need from you. And when you do give that to them, just make sure that you have absolutely done everything they've asked for, so there's no delays in your application, and read and understand and agree to the loan terms and conditions. So let's have a look at repayments. So the repayments start from the April after you have graduated or you have left university. So you get that year's tax grace, but you only start repaying once your income is over £27,295 a year. You repay 9% of your income above that threshold, and deductions are made from through your pay through the HMRC tax system. So it kind of works like a graduate tax. So it's really not like a normal loan. If your income falls below the threshold, those repayments will stop, and any outstanding loan balance will be written off after 30 years. So how much will you repay? So the higher your salary, the higher the monthly repayments. So as you can see on screen, we've got some examples there. If we look at the bottom example, if your income is £28,000 once you've left university, and then 9% is deducted from £705, which is the difference between the threshold and your salary, your monthly repayment works out to a tiny £5 per month. Okay, so you're really not going to notice this going out of your payslip. If you haven't seen the payslip before, unfortunately, you don't keep all the money that you earn. There will be other deductions made, so like your pension and tax and things. For a salary of around £28,000, those deductions will be triple figures, if not close to, and then your student loan repayment is just £5. It's really, really small. Interest is applied to your loan, and you can find more information about that online. So if you'd like to get money ready for university, Black Bullion is a learning course. So it's filled with lots of short videos, there's quizzes on there, there's tools to help you prepare financially for university life. It covers all things from student funding and the cost of living on campus to estimating your loan repayments and planning for the future. There's also a parent's guide on there as well. So if your parents are a little unsure about student finance, maybe you're the first in the family to go to university, they can also check it out as well. So what to do and when. So the link for the Black Bullion course is there. So it's moneyreadyforuni.com. We'll get that into the chat box for you as well, so you can tap on that. Apply to your Student Finance Authority as early as possible. So as I say, applications are due to open in March. As soon as they open, start getting your application in. Prepare your information and documentation required for your application in advance, so that you are ready to submit that. There's no delays, and be prepared to chase Student Finance for any updates. So if you don't hear anything back after 6 weeks, then do get in touch with them. Check with the department you're going to be studying with to see if they have any bursaries or scholarships that are specific to your course of study, and do have a look at our Money Matters page. So there's information on there for managing your money whilst at university, your costs, how to budget and things like that as well. And as I said earlier, your loan from Student Finance might not be available on day one of your course, so do make sure that you have some cash for those early weeks just in case. So to recap, it is important to make the right university and course choice. You do get a set amount of student finance funding, so you typically get the length of your course plus 1 year. So this plus 1 year is kind of a buffer. So if you had to miss university, you know, for a year, or you change course and then you restart from year 1, you've got that buffer there. So it is important to make the right university and course choice, just in case, you know, you've used your buffer and then you want to start again on a different course. You know, you're not going to get the right amount of finance to do it all over again. Tuition fee loans are available to all eligible students. If your course costs £9,250, you will get £9,250. Future repayments are linked to your income, not what is owed. So if you were unsure about taking out the maintenance loan, for example, so you just wanted to take the tuition fee loan because you thought that was going to reduce your overall sort of like package of funding, your repayments once you've left university, whatever your salary is, so let's say you did take just the tuition fee loan, you earn £28,000 after university, your repayment will be £5 per month. If you take the tuition fee loan and the max amount available to you for the maintenance loan, you're on £28,000 after university, your monthly repayment will still be £5. So it doesn't matter what you borrow, because the repayments are linked to your income, not what is owed. Research all finance available, especially those bursaries and scholarships, because who doesn't love free cash? Apply online and on time. There is no need to wait for a confirmed place. So if you are holding out, waiting for your offers, waiting to put your firm place down once student finance applications open, please don't. Just get your application in and then you can change that information later on. And check all your details are correct. So please check that you've put the right bank details in, otherwise that money isn't going to make it to you. You know, just check everything else is correct as well before you click submit. So a few useful links. So one of the things we want to let you know, obviously everything's virtual at the moment, so there's a lot of signing up to things like you have for today's webinar. And universities do ask for marketing consent. So why should you accept it? It allows us to keep in touch with you and contact you about useful information. So we're not going to be sending you 10% off vouchers and spamming your inbox with you know, silly information or anything like that. It will be useful information for you. We can let you know about events that you might find useful, so like today's session, and you can unsubscribe at any time. So there will be a link at the bottom of any emails you receive from universities, and you can just tap that and you are unsubscribed. This is what the student finance page looks like on the government website. So just to make sure that when you do click on the link, you are going to the right place. As you can see, it's got all that key information that you'll need on there. So eligibility, extra help, applying and things like that. And some more useful links. So these are all available in the handout. So do make sure you've downloaded that before you leave today's session. We do have more webinars coming up on other useful topics. So about accommodation, choosing a uni in a course, what to expect at a visit day. So do check out that page there. We do also have a podcast, so if you prefer to listen to things in the background, I know everything's on screens at the moment and you're doing online learning, so maybe you just want to rest your eyes and listen to something in the background instead. We do also have a podcast, and we've put a student finance podcast on there today as well. So if you've missed anything, you want to listen to that information in a different format, then you can check that out as well. And we're all on Unibuddy, so me and my colleagues, we're on there if you want to pop us a question, if you think of anything after today's session. We've also got current students on there as well for you to chat to as well. And other useful links, so that student finance website is there. There's a key information on the student room as well on the UCAS website. And if you do have any questions that relate to your personal circumstances and you think that you'll be attending the University of Reading, you can contact our student financial support team at studentfunding@reading.ac.uk. The Black Bullion course is at moneyreadyforuni.com, and the third link there, the bottom link, is our Money Matters page. Okay, so thank you for listening. Hope you found that useful. We will now go to the Q&A. I can see that we've got some in already, so I'm going to hand over to Edit for the Q&A portion of this webinar.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you for that presentation. I think the first question that's quite important to look at is what if you are applying for 2022 entry, not 2021 entry? Should you apply for student finance now? So if you don't want to go this September, but next September.
If you are in year 12, for example, or you are in year 13, but you will definitely be taking a gap year, then you will just apply to university the year that you attend. So if you will definitely be going next year, then just apply in the next cycle for student finance.
Brilliant. And then we had quite a few things about bank accounts and things like that. I'm happy to do a back and forth, so I'll answer it, and then if you have anything extra to add. So bank accounts, is there a specific bank account students should get? There's not necessarily a best bank for students, but every bank will have some sort of student perks for their student bank accounts. So it's always good to compare and contrast and see which one fits you the best and which one gives you the best sort of student perks. Some of them do things like free rail card or no fees on your overdraft, so there are quite a few. But there's one question as well on if you change your bank details, like your student bank account, can you change that on your student finance application? The answer is yes. There will be a portal where you can access and change your bank details whenever you want to. Am I right about that, Gemma?
Yeah, so you'll have access to a student portal. Some of the things you can update online, some of the things you will have to update perhaps over the phone with student finance, or you might have to send them certain things to update your details. But a lot of that sort of like simple stuff you can just update online.
Yep. And again, another bank account one is, should your student bank account be separate from your personal bank account? To be fair, it doesn't have to be. The money that comes into your student bank account is the money you will be spending on your maintenance. But if you want to see what you're using it for and the flow of money through there and have that money separate so you can't access it as easily, you can have it separate if you want. What do you think, Gemma?
I just upgraded my normal bank account. So the bank account I had before university, I just went in, showed them my university acceptance letter and just upgraded my normal account to a student bank account. And it was as easy as that.
Yeah, and then they do know that it's a student bank account. They ask you how long your course is for, and then they downgrade you from it as well, because I had that experience where I had a lovely big overdraft, and then as I stopped being a student, became a graduate, they slowly reduced my overdraft as well. One more question on sort of paperwork for application and things like that. Is it possible to use a driving license in place of a passport? Generally, I think the answer is yes, but I don't know, Gemma, if you know more specifically, or if we should just send people to the student loans company.
It would usually be your birth certificate in place of those passport details, possibly with a driver's license as well, but your birth certificate will be really important. If you pop onto the student finance website, it does tell you what you can do instead of supplying those UK passport details. If you don't have UK passport details, it might just take a little longer to assess your application, because with your UK passport details, you can just type it in online and then they can obviously double check that you're a UK citizen from that and find all your details and things. But yeah, just if you, as I say, pop onto the Student Finance website, and it tells you on there what you need to provide and then the alternatives if you don't have those bits of info.
Yep. On the non-British passports, with things changing at the moment, they will have to assess whether you're eligible for student finance, and as long as it is, as long as you are, you can use your European passport. So there's no issue with that. It's just they will have to make sure that you're eligible for funding. There is a question on whether there's age restrictions for student finance. Gemma, might be, I don't know if you know specifically the age restrictions for.
Yeah, so there's an age restriction on the maintenance loan. So the age restriction is 60 years old. So you can still get your tuition fee, a loan, but yeah, I think it's 60 years old, then you won't be eligible to receive maintenance loan payments, or the amount that you get differs, but there's information about eligibility online about that, just in case I've got that slightly wrong. But yeah, there is an age restriction on the maintenance loan.
The only thing I know with that is that it's only available once. So for students listening at the moment, Gemma has spoken about the extra year sort of safety net you get. It's quite important to remember that you get 1 year's safety net. So if there's a year where you can't go to university for any which reason, so I don't know, something happens and you can't complete a year, or you change your mind about the course or the university, that's completely fine. But once you start getting several years where that happens, then student finance does eventually run out. That's allocated to you, and you can, it's an option that's there once. So that's good to remember. Let me just see the questions. So there's a question on specific subject areas and support for specific subject areas. That's best to research with any sort of funding body for that subject area. I think what people might be referring to when they're asking if there's support for specific subject areas might be the NHS bursaries. So for certain subjects with the NHS, there is support. It depends on what you're studying, what roles you might be entering, and where you live in the country and hope to work in the country. If you type in an NHS bursary, it should come up with all the right details. So there is that. And then some universities will give subject-specific bursaries, and you have to research the specific university. So I know that for Reading, we did do an architecture bursary. I'm not sure if that's been allowed for next year as well, but we did an architecture bursary for the first year of your architecture course, for example. It's a little bit of money off the course. It's always good to research which uni supports which subject area. Is there anything else on that, Gemma?
No, I think that's covered that.
Yeah, I personally did get a subject-specific one because I was a girl studying a heavily boy subject, and they wanted to encourage girls into that area. Usually those bursaries are to do with what subjects they want to support. There's another specific question, but I think I might answer that in text. Is there anything else you want to mention, Gemma?
Somebody's asked you what subjects do you study, or maybe what did you study, Edit?
I did engineering, so lots of boys, very few girls. They wanted to make sure that girls come. I didn't even know about that bursary. It just came up, so it's always good to check whether your uni does do something.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many more bursaries and scholarships out there now as well, compared to what there was before. So definitely do as much research as you can. Even if you're in year 12 at the moment, it's always worth sort of creating a little list, you know, where to go back and check next year for the same kind of bursaries and scholarships as well.
Sorry, I missed that. What?
It's just about bursaries and scholarships. So there's another question, are a bursary and scholarship the same? So scholarships are normally for sort of like achievement criteria, I would say, and then bursaries are typically more to do with personal circumstances instead. So low household income, if you're a care leaver, those kind of things. So they are pretty much the same thing. They're both free cash. They just have different names. There's another question. Is there a scholarship where they help you if you get good grades in uni? There are some. So each university offers different things. Some universities may offer you a scholarship on the basis of your grades before university, and then if you sort of keep up your grades whilst at university as well. It really depends, doesn't it, Edit?
Yeah, so it's not just grades, it's if you're particularly good at something, so it might be art, or at Reading we have a rowing scholarship. Certain unis are really good at sport, so certain sport will also carry scholarships. Sometimes someone studied at the university, they ended up with a bunch of money and they put a scholarship forward for students from a particular background. So again, it's best to research it. The main difference, like Gemma said, is that with bursaries, you don't have to apply for it. You can access them through your student finance application, whereas with scholarships, you do have to apply for it. Sometimes people don't seek them out, and there's not as much competition as you'd expect. So it's good to have a search for those scholarships and seek them out and apply. What's the worst that can happen, really?
Exactly. There's another question, Edit. Do students have to apply for student finance every year?
They do. So make sure you do apply every year on time. This is because your circumstances might change every year. Your parents' circumstances might change. Maybe you change your course. So it's an opportunity for the student finance company to, student loans company to update all of your details and make sure you get the right support. And again, if there's any bursaries, you get those as well. So yes, apply every year, apply in time, but it's easier the second time around because they already have a bunch of your details.
Yeah, you will notice as well that for your final year of study, you will get a little bit less in your maintenance loan, and that's because the way that student finance works, they think that you'll be going home after you finish your course like in June, so you won't need money for the summer for accommodation because after you've graduated, most students move back home. So just be prepared for that. You will get a little bit less in your final year of study.
Yep. There is a very important question on what happens if your maintenance loan doesn't even cover your accommodation price. And this definitely can happen. Like Gemma said, the student loan, the maintenance loan is there to help you, but we do expect, the government does expect parents to contribute towards, or the family to contribute towards the expenses of living, and often this will come from you, so the family as a whole. So some people do take up part-time jobs or summer jobs, holiday jobs where they can. For example, at Reading we have campus jobs where all of the jobs on our campus are listed and all of our students can apply for them. One of the roles we offer is a student ambassador, so they get to work on events with us and it fits around their jobs quite easily, around their study quite easily. So they do as many hours as they like or as few as they need to, depending on the week that they have. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you will probably find that the maintenance loan doesn't cover everything. Accommodation costs can vary though, so do check out the student finance calculator, see how much the student might be eligible for, and then from there you can start shopping around for your accommodation if you like. So for some students, they might be able to afford an ensuite room, and that's great. But for some students, they might have to have a shared bathroom between 6 other students, and that's also fine. There's catered options at university for accommodation. There's non-catered options. There are lots and lots of different accommodation options available to suit different budgets. And as Edit said, even if after you've chosen the cheapest accommodation, you still find that the money doesn't sort of spread to the full payment of the accommodation. It's really important to look into bursaries and scholarships, but also that part-time job can be really handy as well.
And on that, someone asked how they find out more about being a student ambassador. Our student ambassador recruitment goes out in about October. So it's just whichever uni you go to, look out for the student ambassador roles. Most of them will have student ambassadors because we need students to come with us to things like UCAS fairs and help us on our open days and things like that. So most unis will have that role available. Just look out for it around September, October when you start your uni.
I love the next question.
Is Reading classified as outside of London, even though it's literally so near? Yeah, we're one of those special unis that's only about half an hour by train, but it's classified as out of London. We do have a lot of green space, so it's definitely not as busy as London.
Yeah, so if you're asking for in terms of like the maintenance loan, yep, definitely outside of London. So if you look on Google Maps, even though it's literally so near, as you say, it is far enough away to not be London exactly.
But that is a great question on like shopping around which region you want to live in. When it comes to which uni you choose and which course you should choose, you should definitely look at a course that you really want. That's the most important thing. That's what you're going to be doing day in, day out, and then look around where that's available. But yeah, sometimes where you live does affect it. The north is a little bit cheaper, cities are a little bit more expensive, London is a lot more expensive. Yeah, there are those choices to be made. Right, I think that's it, Gemma. I can't see any more questions. Oh, a couple just came in. We can answer it out loud, or we can just finish on final remarks and type an answer. What do you think?
Just having a little read. Okay, so I think I understand the question. So if you rent a property with someone, a boyfriend, for example, and the price on the website shows £6,000, I'm assuming this is for student accommodation. Do both of you have to pay £6,000 and they have to pay £6,000, or do you share the cost as well? So it will say this somewhere on the website. It will say whether it's per person or whether it's that particular property, for example, so it should have the detail on there. So hopefully you can find that out. I recommend getting in touch with that place, that property that you've had a look at, and asking them those questions as well, and checking if there's anything else that you would need to do to be able to rent that property as a student.
I think the other thing that's good to mention, especially because there's so many questions around accommodation, is when you're looking at your accommodation, we're really going into budgeting here. I'm sure we will have a webinar on budgeting as well, which we would love you to have you back for. But when it comes to accommodation, some accommodation is listed for 40 weeks and some are listed for 52 weeks. You might also get some like for 45 weeks. So some are just from sort of September till July, which is your year of study, and some will be for a whole 12 calendar month. So it's good to just check out whether the contract is a shorter one or a longer one, because a per week more expensive accommodation might be cheaper per year if the contract is shorter. So keep your eye out for little things like that.
Yeah, there's another question. Are the people friendly there? Well, I think the University of Reading is so friendly that our students keep coming back to work at the university. So within our team, I mean, how many of them are alumni edit?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. So within our team of recruitment, I would say about a third to a half are ex-students, just because they like being at Reading. So that's pretty nice. We hope we're very friendly. Come to one of our open days and see. Yeah, usually people say we're very friendly.
Yeah, our open
Great.
days might be virtual this year, but you can still speak to staff and students. So if you're brave enough as well, if you go to a visit day, you do have the opportunity to put your camera and microphone on. So do have a chat with staff and students where possible. And as I mentioned on the useful link side, we are on UniBuddy. We don't get a ton of messages through there, but if you do want to ask us any questions, it can be about student finance, it can be about accommodation, it can be about courses, anything to do with higher education, you know, do pop us a message and we will always do our best to help you out.
Yep, 100% agree. Thank you everyone for coming along. Good luck with your student finance applications. Any final comments, Gemma?
No, just please remember to get your application in before the deadline. I really hope that you've taken that point away from the presentation, if nothing else.
Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.